This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine. I won't let anybody blow it out. No, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, I won't let anybody blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. I won't let anybody blow it out. Oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, yeah.
This is, I all of a sudden I feel ridiculous talking about the personality of a puppet. Well, I think they're more complex this time around. It's a puppet. It's a freaking puppet. Hello and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We're glad to have you with us for this regular episode where we're going to have a little bit of fun. David, how are you doing, man?
I am doing excellent.
Excellent.
It has rained for about a week, and this is like the first time I've seen the sun in a week, and I feel like new life has come into my soul.
Don't get too used to it. Sounds like we're supposed to get more rain. Matter of fact, in the area I'm in, we're supposed to possibly get pretty heavy flooding from the new hurricane that's coming up the coast, so that'll be fun.
Welcome to North Carolina.
Yay! So listen, man, usually when we record, it's been early in the morning, and we're both just drinking coffee or water or whatever. We're actually recording afternoon today, so we can have beverages. What's going to be your beverage of choice?
So in honor of a North Carolina fall,
Yes.
I am having some hard cider by the good folks at Bold Rock, and it is quite tasty, crisp, and refreshing. It is like
nice.
My go-to autumn drink.
Very nice. Well, I'm going to have a little something, like the beer, little something.
That is one of my all-time favorite
From
beers.
Lagunitas. I just love this beer. It's got a nice hoppy bite, but there's malt in it, and it's just amazingly drinkable.
I have one complaint about that beer.
There's not enough of it.
Well, that, and you have to peel off the label if you have small children because there's like a pinup girl on it.
That
I
is
hate
true.
that.
Yeah.
Like I hate that part about that beer. It's such a fantastic beer.
It is amazing beer.
So I have to when I'm at home and I drink, I have to peel it off.
Peel off the label. Well, I'm sorry about that. Speaking of kid friendly, I thought today we might talk a little bit about the Muppets. Who doesn't love the Muppets, particularly kids?
A lot of people don't like the Muppets.
What?
And it makes me mad because
Why
you
would
know
people not
my
like
last name is Henson. And,
Right.
You know, come on, that's a family insult, y'all.
It's like sacrilege if they don't like the Muppets.
That's
How could
right.
they do that to you, man?
We know I get royalties from every show.
Oh, I'm sure. Of course you do. That's why you got that fancy white T-shirt on.
That's right. No, I just think this makes me look good.
Oh,
okay.
do you now? Well,
No.
well.
It's laundry day. It's laundry day. Come on, man. This is the beauty of podcasting is you can have your radio outfit on.
That's right.
Okay, so the Muppets. So ABC rebooted the Muppets. It's a bit of a different kind of reboot.
I was so excited about it too.
So you were a big Muppet fan?
I grew up on the Muppets. I love the Muppets. Even in college and post college, man, I would watch it in reruns every chance I got.
Which
just love
Muppet are you, Mark?
Which Muppet am I? Well, that's an
Which
interesting.
Muppet are you?
In a lot of ways, I'm Kermit. I really am.
Yeah, Gonzo right here.
Gonzo. That's too funny.
You're not denying it, clearly.
I'm just laughing. That's all. So, yeah, it is. You were getting ready to say it's a little bit of a different reboot. I was actually expecting basically the regular show. They were just going to update it, which would have been great because we need more variety shows on television. We got the closest we have to a variety show are actually more of reality TV kind of stuff, and it's just not the same. So, Jimmy Fallon's pretty much the closest thing we have to a variety show. In a lot of ways, yeah. America's Got Talent is sort of a variety show, but anyway, there's room for a good variety show. So I was really hoping that's what they were doing, but it's not what they did, is it?
No, not at all. It is almost like a mockumentary style show about the Muppets producing a late night show. Up Late with Miss Piggy, is that right? She's the star of the show within the show?
Correct. She is the star of the show within the show.
It's kind of like 30 Rock meets The Office in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is sort of that. Yeah, I was actually thinking of what was that dramedy? It was more just a drama from the people who did The West Wing. It was 30 Rock, wasn't it? No.
That the Sunset? Something on
Sunset 60 Sunset. I don't remember. That's actually Sunset. What I was thinking of. Where you saw the behind the scenes of a thing that was basically Saturday Night Live, but wasn't Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
But it has The Office is really what this is. It's just a different setting.
Okay, so you've watched the first couple of shows. What'd you think?
I find them entertaining. I don't necessarily find it to be high-end television in any way. Like you even in The Office, sometimes there would be this hidden kind of lesson to learn kind of thing. I don't feel like we're going to get that in the Muppets, at least not in any direct way. There might be some things that are very, very, very beneath the surface in terms of acceptance and differences and that kind of things.
Okay, so I've got a question then.
Okay.
So a lot of the Muppets seem to almost be based on like a singular, almost like emotion or desire, like greed or gluttony or like snarkiness or whatever.
All right,
and like when you're doing the Muppets, like in the traditional version, like this kind of fun. When you see them placed in this very human mockumentary style thing, like are they the same? Do you think? I mean, because you know this more than I do. You know the original. Are they the same? And does that kind of more human environment make their id in a way like a little bit more extreme seeming?
I actually think it maybe does the opposite of that.
Okay. All right.
Like it gives their id, that personality, that thing beneath the surface, it gives it more texture and more breadth.
Okay.
So they become a slightly more interesting character in some ways.
Okay.
For adults, for the kids, keeping it kind of that one note is helpful because it helps you identify with them. You know who they are. You know what to expect when they show up on screen. Doing this kind of mockumentary behind the scenes, it does. I all of a sudden I feel ridiculous talking about the personality of a puppet. But, I think they're more complex this time around. It's a puppet. It's a freaking puppet.
But I mean, there's a great scene in the first episode where Fozzie goes home with his girlfriend, who's a human girlfriend. Yeah, and like there are direct overtones about racism.
Oh yeah.
That, like, really show how horrible and awful it is in kind of a exaggerated way, but I thought it was really effective and it made me squirm a little.
You're right. No, I forgot about that scene because I just most recently watched the most recent episode. But yeah, you're right. I forgot completely about that scene. It did teach a lesson, and it was handled in a way that you couldn't help because the person that you were rooting for the most was the person who was suffering from what's basically this racism, and you couldn't help but emote and feel it and get uncomfortable.
Now, but this leads me to my next point, Mark.
Uh-oh.
Is that an appropriate relationship at all? Because that's exactly what people have gotten upset about, right?
It is. Million Moms, the 1 Million Moms March, or whoever got upset about interspecies relationships. Here's my question, David. They get that it's Muppets, right? That they're not real.
I don't know.
They get
what's just Million Moms? It was Franklin Graham, too,
right,
man.
Well, Franklin Graham came out afterwards saying how much he appreciated them standing up and that he agreed that this was inappropriate and it needed to be pulled off television. Yeah.
There's a moment in time, like, you realize that these are fabric with hands up them, not actual
Maybe that's what makes them uncomfortable about it.
Maybe so. Maybe that's the truth. But I mean, I think it's a fascinating thing to be upset about. Like, of all the things that are going on in our culture, right. I mean, like these groups have honestly said that they believe the Muppets are trying to promote sinful behaviors and lifestyles in young people.
Yeah, it's really just silly. It's really silly, and it shows you a little bit kind of what that far Christian right political machine thing, how utterly ridiculous they've become, how silly. What they make. We're talking about a mockumentary. They're making a mockery of themselves.
We're talking about a mockumentary of Muppets.
A Muppet mockumentary.
Yeah, and so, but here's my thing, Mark. Yeah. They get publicity. They become like this face of Christianity.
Yeah, they
like
get
that's what people think of, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And they own, outside of social media, they own the largest megaphones for getting to say stuff. They own most of the newspapers. They own most of the Broadway networks.
They are branding Christianity.
They are, and they're shutting out all the folks that listen to the show, who are folks mostly who are trying to get out there and say, no, that's not what Christianity is actually about. No matter how hard you and I try, no matter how hard the listeners try, we're very seldomly given, access to those larger platforms. I mean, the best that we can hope for, I've been on NPR and PBS, and that's nice. But let's admit that the reach is not exactly gigantic compared to the access that Million Moms and Franklin Graham and all those folks have. And so they get to be the face of Christianity. I was getting ready to say for better or worse, but it's mostly just for worse, isn't it?
It is mostly for worse. I mean, but when you're listening to NPR and somebody like Nadia Bowles-Weber comes on to talk about her book, Accidental Saints, right. It's such a breath of fresh air. And you get so many people who are so excited about it that I really do think it's critical for Christians to speak out against that kind of intolerance. And I think it's really critical to begin to speak out, not just against it, but for, equality and for inclusiveness and for like non-stupidity. I mean, like that could be the logo. Like, we're Christians against stupidity. Like, I mean, I don't know.
CAS.
Or Christians for non-stupidity. I'm not even going to ask people to be intelligent.
That's funny, man. I like it. You should start a national movement.
It's my new Facebook page. Christians for non-stupidity.
I think you're onto something there.
It'll have 1 million followers, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I think that the talking about the Muppets and connected it to the kind of far Christian right political machine is an interesting thing to do, because in some ways it's very revealing about motivations and what's really going on with that machine, because like we said, they're really getting very hyper worked up over a television show about not much, performed by people who are sticking their hands up puppets. And they've turned it into this massive, for them, the end of moral society as we know it. And I think it points to kind of some of the underwriting motivations of what they're about, don't you think?
Yeah, it's about control. It's about power. It's about exclusion. I mean, and I know I joked about like them being stupid, all that kind of stuff, which is inappropriate to say. I understand, because they're really not stupid. That's the thing. Like, people like Franklin Graham and the Million Moms and the kind of the right wing Christian media infrastructure, not stupid at all. Really quite brilliant in an insidious and horrible way, because they built this media empire. They've shaped the conversation for 50 years.
Right.
And by and large, progressive Christians and liberal Christians didn't. We sat around worrying about whether or not our churches were going to close.
Yeah. And I think there's even another level underneath that, and that is that they don't really care about truth and reality.
Oh God, no!
And I think that's part of what this show is revealing, is that they kind of pick this thing that's going to be important, and they'll use anything that they can manipulate.
I mean, they did that with abortion. Abortion was not on their radar until the moral majority sat around a table back in the late 70s, early 80s and said, what can we rally around? Because it can't be divorced because Reagan's been divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
It's picking a cultural point to get outraged about, fomenting enough anger it's not about truth. It's not about love. It's not about trying to make the world a better place. It's about making the world an angrier place,
right?
And making the world a more outrageous place.
Yeah, well, I think that they've bought so far into it that, early on it wasn't quite as insidious. I mean, it was nasty and evil, but that's become the engine of everything they are, and they've ended up at this preposterous place where the Tea Party is owning the larger, longer terms existing party. And I think we've seen some stuff in this past week that point to that too. So why don't we wrap it up right here and come back on the other side and turn it a little more political in the discussion? What do you think?
I don't know how much more we can get political, but we'll try.
Moonshine Jesus, nobody in the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus. This is round 2 for our Muppets and Mayhem episode. And now we're getting to the mayhem part.
Yeah, exactly.
Because things have gone. I mean, we talked about how absurd the outrage over Muppets is, and that's rooted in some pretty odd things. To be generous, it's
very generous. Yeah.
So news has broken in the past week that is almost as odd as Muppets being the subject of a mockumentary, and that's Boehner resigned.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Pretty much in protest of his own party.
Right. Well, I mean, I think he turned it into protest.
Yeah.
And I think the reason behind it was that he was... watch the way I connect this together. He was tired of being made a Muppet.
He was tired of being a puppet.
Yeah, he was tired of being made a Muppet. He was tired of the Tea Party pushing the agenda further and further to the right, and giving him crap. Giving him crap when he was being really quite conservative.
Yeah, and that's exactly what people like Franklin Graham and Million Moms in the far right of Christianity is doing in the Christian discussion. It's right. Kind of a parallel thing. As the Tea Party has moved into more exaggerated and extreme avenues of politics, philosophies, and ideas, same has happened on the far Christian right. You've got this extreme wing that's getting upset about Muppets, and
it still makes me laugh every time I hear it.
And so Boehner basically looks at all this. He's been made a puppet.
Right.
He's been ridiculed. I mean, Boehner's a conservative guy.
He's very conservative.
He's some change of heart, and now he's some bleeding heart liberal. He's a conservative guy. But he comes out the day after he resigns and calls the Tea Party leaders, the GOP, who are currently in Congress, he calls them false prophets, Mark.
Right. That's unreal, right?
He calls them false prophet. He quotes scripture and calls his own party false prophets who whip the American people up into a frenzy.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's exactly what's going on with the Muppets. I mean, and the Muppets is an exaggeration. It feels stupid to talk about it, but it is a direct outgrowth of this kind of mentality.
It really completely is. The fact that we've gotten to the point that large organizations can be enraged about puppets and people listen, show you how far it has gone.
The fact that we're doing an entire podcast outrage.
Oh no, we bought into it too, David.
No, but we're dealing with the reality. This is where we're at, people.
Yeah,
this is where we're at.
It should frighten everybody. If there's a silver lining to any of this, it's that I kind of feel like, and I'd love to hear your take on this. I kind of feel like with Boehner stepping down, this might be in the future looked at as a pivotal moment in the GOP, because I suspect what's going to happen, because he really did get pushed out, what we're going to probably see is a Tea Partier take the Speaker of the House position. And I think that will begin the complete infighting. Not that we don't already have some, but I think it's going to cause major infighting in the GOP. And we might be seeing the beginning of the end, or at least them having to completely rebuild. I mean, what do you think?
No, I have wondered when Boehner comes out and that blatantly, and if you hear the audio, almost gleefully calling them false prophets, It's almost like he's got this weight lifted off of him. You do wonder if you're beginning to see the disintegration of the Republican Party as we know it. Yeah. They've been able to hold together that coalition of far right and right. I mean, I'm not even going to say moderate Republicans, but far right and right Republicans.
Absolutely,
they've been able to hold that together. Things have gotten so extreme that I think you can't hold that together because it's not a realistic method of governing.
No, it's really not. And honestly, I mean, it's not governing. It's all become a giant game. I'm not even saying that the Democrats don't play a game as well, but they haven't bought so far into the system that real political work can't happen anymore. And I really feel like the GOP has ended up at a point where there's no longer real political work. It's all politics. And I know that sounds like I'm nitpicking, but there's a big difference.
That's not. There's a big difference between politics is about keeping yourself in power by any means necessary. It's about
right. And at this point, keeping yourself in power by any means necessary typically means selling yourself out to someone who will keep you in power.
Yes, and valuing being reelected or staying in power more than you value actually doing anything or getting something done that's beneficial for everybody else.
Exactly.
Or for anybody else. But no, I do wonder, that thought crossed my mind as soon as it happened and it came out, was whether or not this was the beginning of the end of the Republican Party.
Right.
Of course, the other thing about that is we could be seeing the beginning of maybe even a third party, which would be interesting. I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see
a far right. You'd have a far right conservative, then you'd have a conservative, and then you'd have a moderate party, which would be the Democratic Party.
Right, right. That doesn't really sound great to me, David.
Because you wind up then you're going to wind up shifting the moderate to the Republican, to your conservative Republican instead of your far right. So the spectrum will begin to shift.
Yeah, not in a positive way either.
Which is a classic organizing technique. You're polarizing something to shift the conversation further to the right.
Yeah.
So the conversation is going to keep shifting to the right.
Well, if you're correct that their party will somehow split and become two parties, I think it's far more likely that one of them will become so weakened that they kind of go away, and the other one rises up as the quote real conservatives.
Real conservatives.
Yeah, and I just don't see the third party coming out of this. I think that we're at a time that we need a third party, but
we just don't need it on the far right.
Right, and we also don't need a third party for the sake of a third party, which are far too many of the arguments that are being made nowadays. Right. Is that, well, you should vote green or you should vote whatever because we need a third party. Well, no, you're just screwing the world over by doing that. You need a strong.
Oh man, Mark just opened up a can of third party polemics, and
That's
we're
fine.
not even
That's
to talk
fine.
about it.
That's fine. I happen to know that there's only 2 minutes left in this segment, so.
Mark is holding it like a death grip.
No, I think we need one, but it has to be a strong one and not one for the sake of being a third party.
Sure.
At some point, that's bound to happen. We just haven't seen it yet.
I mean, I don't know when we're going to see it, though. I mean, yeah, you're right. We probably shouldn't open that can because, it's a whole different segment, a whole different conversation. But I do think that you're going to see a lot of people are saying this is going to save the government. It may save this government shutdown, but I think it's going to be the next for the rest of Barack Obama's presidency. Yeah. It's going to make things a whole lot worse, and we're going to see a lot more instability in both the market and the economy, and in our governing. Because I think government shutdowns are coming. I think lots of them are.
I mean, that's what they're going for. Right now, they're looking at the national polling and recognizing that they really don't stand a chance with the direction things are going in and winning the next presidential election. Yep. So if you can cause something to happen that's going to make an unstable environment, whether it's economic, socio-political, whatever it happens to be, that's in their eyes a bonus for their party. Yeah.
God bless America. And the Muppets. No, it's I never thought I would be sitting on a podcast talking to you about criticism over Muppets and John Boehner's criticism over his own party. Like, I feel like I'm living in this very upside down world in a way. So I feel like
it's almost Orwellian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the world's not making sense right now. So I think we should drop some music and we'll come back and do something that makes a little bit more sense, like hashtag games.
And Jesus,
welcome to the third round of the Moonshine Jesus Show. David, this is always the best part of the show.
The hashtag games.
Yeah, because it's much less about what you and I think and much more about what the listeners think, and they're far smarter than we are.
Exactly. Okay, so I have a confession to make.
Yes?
I'm on far right overload right now.
I am too a little bit. I got to say, it's getting me down, man.
All right, so I have bad news for you. Our hashtag game was on the far right. So our hashtag game last week was Trump on iconic leaders.
Yeah.
And like everybody who played, they were all hilarious and they were all great. But I wanna maybe only do a few because I'm not sure how much more I can handle without some antidepressants.
I think that's fair. I have some antidepressants right here if you want.
Yeah, you might need to send them through the computer screen at this point. Okay, so Trump on iconic leaders, that was our hashtag last week. Did any of them catch your eye?
Yeah, the one from a bunch of them did, but one from Reverend Vermette, which is at Reverend_VERMETTE. Julius Caesar, great military leader, worst hairdo.
Like Trump's got room to talk, right?
Exactly. That's why it's funny.
All right. My favorite one from the week was from a guy named Andrew Carlson at the real Andrew_J. Trump on iconic leaders. Joshua couldn't have got past my wall.
Yeah, his great wall.
Well played, right?
Yeah, exactly.
March around my wall. It's not going to fall down. No way. Blow your horn.
Not the Trump wall, man. Not the Trump wall.
Blow your horns all you want, buddy.
I'm going to do one more, we'll call it quits there. This one's from Becky Seville, at Becky Seville. Becky with a Y, Seville. Why take care of the poor, Mother Teresa? They don't contribute to the economy.
Exactly. Losers. Mother Teresa's such a loser. Of course, I suppose Christopher Hitchens might agree with him on that one.
Yeah, just might, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Muppets. We talked about far right. As we were sitting down to record this, the now viral news broke that Pope Francis met with Kim Davis while he was here, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And it got us to thinking, like, how many people the Pope didn't meet with.
Who may have done stuff that deserved to meet with the Pope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we should collectively use our voices to make our cases for why we should have gotten to meet the Pope.
So hashtag why the Pope should meet me. No, hashtag the Pope should meet me because.
Yes. Hashtag the Pope should meet me because, and then give us your reason why you deserve to get a rosary from the Pope and a blessing from the Pope.
That's exactly right. Because there's got to be stories out there better than the reason Kim Davis got to meet with the Pope. So just have at it. I brew my own beer. It's better than Kim Davis's reason as far as I'm concerned. So.
I folded the laundry yesterday. I mean, clearly I deserve canonization.
You do. And, it can be funny or it can be serious. Better. The big thing is have a good time for whatever reason. Make a political statement. Be a comedian. We just want to see what folks are going to come up with because it's a sort of a fun, playful way to say we're a bit surprised that. Not surprised, but it's sad that it happened.
We're just saying the entire episode has been absurd, so we're going to talk about something absurd with the hashtag game. Muppets, Mayhem, and Absurdity. We thank you for tuning in. We'll leave you with the one thing that's not absurd but is wonderful, and that's a little Freddie Fried.
to hell. Your mind can't believe that they planned this so well. Moonshine and Jesus, yes, that is the way. They get us to give up our souls every day.